welcome to Brand X Reviews, and welcome to another episode of BXR Mailbag. And again, it's another submission put forward by Paul Cage, who is one of our biggest supporters really here. So Paul, you're an absolute legend for sending all these in. Now, I'm aware that other people have sent a few in as well, but the ones that you sent in just seemed to be ones that I was going to kind of cover anyway, sooner or later, or they were fairly topical, so I've kind of done yours first. But to the few others that have, I will be getting to yours as well. But anyway, for this one, it's not going to be Marvel related. A lot of the ones that I've had are, although the last one was Terminator related. This one covers something that I've been wanting to get into for a while, but just never had cause really to get into it because there hasn't been anything kind of new developing. And that is Red Dwarf, the TV series, the British television series. I'm sure you're already aware of what it is because it's got a massive fan following. In fact, when I did the banner, the heading for the website at Brand X Reviews, I did actually put on that a picture of something from Red Dwarf because it was my intention to kind of cover it. But I don't think I've ever mentioned Red Dwarf in any video or even in any kind of news post because there's not really been much developing since I started the website in late 2013. But anyway, BXR Mailbag, that's what I'm doing, and Paul, as I say, very kindly submitted a Red Dwarf question. So let's read this and just see what Paul had to say.
With the recent success of Red Dwarf X, there have been whispers of a new series, but nothing comes to light. What is your opinion on a possible movie and the chances of it? Also, for anyone that may not know, a brief history of the show. Thanks.
Great submission, Paul. Now, the TV series, it's for those of you who haven't seen it, you really need to remedy this. I'm going to kind of do this video assuming that most people know what it is, but I'll just kind of go into the background of it. The series that aired in the late 80s, it started in 1988, and it was very much based on stuff at the time that was kind of coming out like the Alien films. It was also in the aftermath of the Star Wars films, and also Star Trek The Next Generation had been running in America, I believe, for a year at that point. So it was kind of respectfully taking the piss out of those genres, but also kind of the look of it was very much kind of the used future stuff. And I'm sure there's other examples as well of sci-fi and popular culture that was going on at the time. But it was done from the point of view of, instead of it being sort of your heroic characters which you usually get in those kind of space adventures, this was very much working class slob being the last human being alive, which is a really hilarious concept. I understand a lot of like American TV network owners or whatever didn't really want to own it because they didn't like the idea that the last that the last human alive wasn't American, basically. I don't know how quite true that is, but from a British point of view, it's got a real sense of irony to it, that the last human being would be this guy, the guy that eats curries and just gets pissed all the time. And the basic premise of the show is they're on this mining ship in space, and he kind of gets a bollocking for smuggling a cat aboard. He gets put into what's called stasis, which is frozen in time, basically, for a while. But while he's in there, there's a radiation leak on board the ship, and it takes 3 million years for the radiation to subside before he can be released. So he wakes up 3 million years later, and the human race is pretty much, well, I would assume dead. He's at the arse end of space. He had a pet cat that he'd smuggled aboard. That pet cat had kittens, and they had kittens, and they had kittens. And over 3 million years, that race of cats evolved into this creature who's known as the cat, who's this kind of snazzy-looking, very sharp, but very kind of dumb guy. That's one of the characters. There's also a character that was his bunkmate, who he really didn't get on well with at all, called Rimmer. He obviously died, but then he's been brought back as a hologram to keep Lister, the last human being alive, to keep him sane. The theory being that, if you were to spend a lot of time with your friends, you just kind of get bored, but at least if it's somebody you hate, you're going to have arguments with them, you're going to kind of have, kind of a life, really. It'll keep you going. Later on, they pick up this humanoid robot called Crichton, and there's other characters they kind of bring into it. There's also a computer, the ship's computer, which is artificially intelligent, appears as a face on a screen, and that character is called Holly. They later replaced the actor Norman Lovett, that was Holly, with a female version, so it was kind of a different computer, but it was still called Holly, or sometimes known as Hilly. Again, very, very funny actress, played by Hetty Hayridge. And really great kind of ensemble of just different characters, just hilarious. It started out as a very low budget TV series, and as it picked up its popularity, they increased the budget pretty much series to series. I think every couple of series there was a jump. So series 1 and 2, fairly similar in the kind of look. Then series 3 and 4 really kind of boosted it a bit with bigger set pieces. And then series 5 and 6, even bigger. Series 7 and 8, just huge at that point. Also technology and stuff like that as well, kind of, because it spanned over about 10 years, the original 8 series of the thing. So yes, it pretty much ended. There was a lot of model shots and stuff like that in some of the earlier series with the ships, but I think by series 7 and 8 they kind of CGI'd a lot of stuff, which really put me off, because what I loved about the earlier series were the model shots that they used. They were really quite good looking, but I think when they replaced them with very cheap looking CGI, I don't know, it just kind of looked a bit tacky. And that's just my personal preference. I'm sure a lot of people would agree, but I'm sure others would disagree. But that's generally what the show is about anyway, and there's more to it than that, but that's just me kind of going over it briefly. Now the TV series, when it aired originally, they released them on videotape, and you had, every series had 6 episodes in the first few, I think up to series 6, then they had 8 episodes from series 7 and 8 onwards. But every up to series 6, you had 6 episodes per series, and you get them on tape, and you would get 3 episodes on a tape. So each series was split into 2 tapes, and an episode was about half an hour long. So over a tape, you would get an hour and a half of episodes. And I remember I don't think they repeated the first few series on, I think it was the first 2 series. I'm sure when they marketed it, they said, right, these aren't going to be shown on British terrestrial television again. Not sure if they stuck to that, but I seem to remember hearing that at the time. Some of the later series they did rerun again and again, particularly after series 6, because they stopped making them for about 3 or 4 years, between 93 and 97. So there's a bit of a gap there. So series 6 got repeated a lot during those years leading up to the release of, well, the airing of series 7. So we got to see a lot of those same episodes all over again. Now, I know at one point it was very hard to get hold of episodes, particularly in the late 90s, because I didn't start collecting them till about 96. I seem to remember a friend of mine, I think you might have seen him in some of the videos, Buff, as we call him. Buff, no, that's his nickname, that's not his real name. He was a mate of mine at school, still good friends, and he had a lot of these on tape, but I seem to remember series 4 was particularly difficult to get hold of. I think they were deleted, and this was before Amazon, this was before you could just order stuff. You could still go into some shops and order tapes, but I know we ordered series 1, 2 and 3, series 4 you couldn't get hold of. Series 5 and 6 were still on the shelves, so we still got those, but it wasn't until they were repeated on the UK Gold, as it was known, in the late 90s. I think that's when I got series 4. So for a lot of years you just couldn't get these unless you taped them off TV, or if you were lucky enough to buy them when they were about. There's also Smeg-Ups as well, which I'll show you the DVDs in a moment, but I'll show you what the Smeg-Ups were as well. But that was pretty much it in terms of like what you could buy back then. Now there are also some remastered episodes that they did in 1998 to coincide with the 10th anniversary of the series, and it was done to put this in historical context. Star Wars fans out there will know that they did these Star Wars special editions in 97 where they revamped a lot of the special effects, added bits in and just kind of tinkered with it a bit for better or for worse. Well, they did the same with Red Dwarf. In fact, again, I seem to remember these were marketed as, like George Lucas style. Because especially the early series were very very low budget, so they kind of just added little special effects here and there just for the sake of it in a lot of cases. And I think they actually deleted a couple of little bits out as well, which was pointless and annoying. They didn't go down very well with fans. I don't think you can get them on DVD. In fact, I think they're that unpopular that they just kind of abandoned it. But you can get them on tape anyway. I believe they were just called the sort of remastered episodes. If you're desperate enough to get those. I can't remember how far they went with them. I think it may have only been the first 2 series from memory, but if I'm wrong, I'm sure someone will post in the comments. But anyway, they released them on DVD anyway, and that's what I own now. As far as I'm aware, you can only get Series 10 or Series X on Blu-ray. I don't think you can get the other previous series on Blu-ray, but let's have a look at my DVDs. They're actually on my shelf in the background. Okay, so here is the Red Dwarf DVD collection, and also a few other little bits and pieces as well that I've collected that came with these. Now, these were done by Corgi, the actual models, although I don't think that the Scooter was done by Corgi. But I got them in a box set that came with the DVDs. I think you can get these individually, but let's just have a quick look at these just to start with anyway. Okay, so we have the Red Dwarf ship itself. This is the mothership from the series, obviously. That's what the series is named after. So let's have a close look at this thing. The attention to detail is quite nice on this. Now, unfortunately, this is actually modelled on the new version of the ship that was done for both the remastered versions of the early episodes and also Series 8, when the nanobots had kind of rebuilt the ship. But it's still very nice anyway, but I think it would have been nicer just to have the original version of the Red Dwarf ship. But that's that anyway. It comes on this stand that you can kind of detach, so that's pretty cool. Then next we have Starbug 1 as well, and you can see again the attention to detail is very nice on this, and again comes on this stand, so that's pretty much that. Then we have the Scooter here as well, which is on wheels and kind of moves. But as I say, this one wasn't actually done by Corgi, as far as I know. You've got some information there on when and where it was made. But this one's plastic as well. The quality of this is a bit cheaper than the other ones, but it looks nice on a shelf anyway. It doesn't actually move, it's fairly pretty much stuck in position. Then we have these 2 sort of plastic figurines as well, as you can kind of see. I think the Rimmer one tends to lean forward a little bit, but it still stands up quite nice. But those are the actual things that came with them. Let's have a look at the actual DVDs now, which just kind of ignore the Star Trek ones here, they're something separate. But my DVDs here, let's have a look and see what they are. Okay, what I'll do is I'll start from the top. We have this is basically a double DVD set. I say set, I think it's just on one disc, but it was based on these old videotapes that you would buy separately. There was this Smeg Ups, which was to do with just basically outtakes from series 4, 5 and 6. That was the first one that got released. Then later on they released the Smeg Outs, which was outtakes from series 1, 2 and 3. Really hilarious. I mean, I actually owned these before I started buying the actual episodes. They were so funny. If you haven't seen them, seriously, you need to have this in your collection. So, like I say, you get the content of those on the DVD here. So it's quite a nice thing to have. There's this DVD game which I actually only bought recently. It's just a trivia thing, just a DVD thing. It's nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated. I think you can actually play it in one player mode as well. Played this with Core quite recently. I don't think he liked it. That's just because he wasn't getting the right questions. But there you go. So the actual series itself, they release each series individually. You can get them in a box set where I think there's a couple of different variations. There's one where it's just the episodes and it says just the episodes on it, or you can get box sets where you have all the extras as well. I got these individually as and when they were released because they didn't all come out in one go. They started releasing them in, I think it was November 2002 from memory, and so they obviously started in chronological order. So series 1, this was what you got. I believe each series is about 2, maybe 3 discs sometimes. You can see here the extras that you've got. Now, Series 1 was fairly basic, but it's got some pretty good documentaries and stuff, and hidden extras as well. Series 2, very similar. The layout of these is quite similar. You'll notice on the back you have this kind of look to it. They all kind of follow on in that sense. Or at least the first 8 series do anyway. But A few extra little bits there, as you can see. That's the extra features that you get with this box set. So if you want to have a look at that, maybe just pause it and have a look. And it lists the episodes there as well. Series 3 is one of my favourite series. Has one of my favourite episodes, Marooned, which was just hilarious. Just the dialogue that took place in the episode, I just thought was absolute genius. Plenty of extras. There was an episode called Backwards as well, where they go to kind of I think they go forward in time to a point where time itself has kind of snapped like an elastic band and is then going backwards, kind of reflex. So there's a few extra features on this where you can see some of those backwards scenes forwards, if that makes sense. And then it lists the episodes there as well. Series 4, production value was very similar to Series 3. I would say anyway, and this one came out I think in 1991 I believe. Series 1 started in 1988 and I think Series 2 aired in 88 as well. Series 3 was in 89, Series 4 was in 91, early 91. I think there was some controversy at the time with the episode Meltdown because there was a war that was going on in the episode, and that was supposed to air around about the time the first Gulf War was going on, but because of the sensitivities at the time, I think they delayed that episode. Whether or not that was a good judgment call, that's up to you. But that's Series 4. Series 5, quite interesting, includes some information, interviews and stuff about the never released Red Dwarf USA pilot, and basically that was the Americans trying to do their own Red Dwarf sitcom. It didn't work. It was too much like your kind of Seinfeld sitcoms. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I like Seinfeld, but it's not the same as Red Dwarf. They did actually have Robert Llewellyn, the guy that played Crichton, to appear in that as well. And there's some quite good, interesting information on this DVD that kind of talk about it. It doesn't show the actual episode, I think just due to copyright reasons, but it has information and kind of, you can get an idea of it. You can't legitimately own that as far as I'm aware, but there's bootleg copies going around, or you can just watch it online somehow. I'm sure if you look it up on Google, you'll find something. Interestingly, that American pilot did actually also have, was it Daphne from Frasier, the American sitcom? That was actually after, I think she got cast as Daphne in Frasier after the American pilot of Red Dwarf. She would have been Holly if that TV series had picked up. But anyway, on to Series 6. Series 6, Series 2 aired in 92, Series 6 aired in 93. And this was the last series that we had for a lot of years because there was a false rape allegation made against Craig Charles. And because of that, the TV series was just basically on standstill for a number of years until 97 when Series 7 came out, which I'll get to in a moment. You can see here, these are the extras that you get on the DVD of this. Some great episodes. Series 6 was really good. Series 5 and 6 really kind of, production quality of that jumped. Series 7, the production quality again jumped massively to the point where a lot of fans were kind of put off by the look of it. They kind of Americanised it a lot. Series 7 is my least favourite. They got rid of Rimmer for a lot of the episodes. He was only in maybe 3 bits of a couple of other episodes as well. So yeah, not quite as good. They did introduce the, sort of revamped and reintroduced his character, Kachansky, the female. I didn't have a problem with her. I thought she was really good. I thought she was really funny. And it was around about the time when the Spice Girls were quite big at the time, so the whole girl power thing, they wanted to have not just an all-male cast, they wanted to have a female in there as well. So that was Series 7, that was in 97. The next series was 2 years later in 99, and this was the last series that we had for a good decade. And this, I think Series 7 and Series 8 had 8 episodes per series, where everyone up till then only had 6 episodes, so it was quite nice to have an extra couple of episodes. Now this DVD set, there's some extended versions of episodes, as there are on Series 7 as well. And there's quite a lot of extra features on there anyway. And that was pretty much it, like I say, for 10 years. That it wasn't until 2009 when they did this kind of, it was like a 3-episode thing, but you can watch them all back to back as pretty much like a TV movie, I guess. It's called Back to Earth. So this pretty much is what Series 9 would have been. There is no Series 9. This was pretty much in place of it. It then leaps to Series X, Series 10.
which came out in 2012. So it was a 3-year gap between Back to Earth and Red Dwarf X, and this only had 6 episodes. It was going back to the old ways of just having 6 episodes. It didn't actually air on terrestrial television as such. It was the channel Dave. I don't think it aired on normal television, BBC 1 or 2, but pretty much by now anyway. I think everyone's got access to that. And now the extra features on this are a bit lacking if you compare it to some of the. There's not as much stuff on there, but still very good anyway. I really enjoyed this series. I think that it was like the old series. It really was great. So those are the DVDs now. They did do tapes of these, as I mentioned. There were also the kind of the remastered ones as well, which are kind of silly. But those are the DVDs anyway.
So yeah, those are the DVD series, and like I say, they were released pretty much from 2002 onwards. The last series, Series 10, was in 2012. Yeah, 2012. So we haven't really had anything since then. Now, Paul, part of your question, because obviously you wanted me to kind of go over a brief history of the show. What is the future of this TV series? Well, I imagine they're going to do more. I mean, it's that popular a show. It started as kind of a cult following, but by now, I mean, I would define a cult franchise as something like, say, Escape from New York, where it's got quite a big fan base and people that are fans of it are mega fans of it, but there's not really a lot of stuff you can do to collect. There's not a lot of stuff that you can collect. There's not like events or anything like that. It's just all kind of in your head. Your kind of fanship of it. Red Dwarf, they do Red Dwarf conventions. There is like a website. There's a massive fan base. There's a massive merchandise base. Everybody that I know that's old enough really knows what Red Dwarf is. I think most people like it. I know a few people that don't. Maybe think it's a bit too geeky. But by that standard, I wouldn't at all say Red Dwarf is a cult. It's too big. But yeah, so the point is anyway, with it being as popular as it is, I very strongly believe that they will keep doing more of them. In terms of developments, I've heard people say that the writer of the show has said yes, he's planning on doing another one, but another series, a series 11. But we'll see. I mean, it can take years. I mean, look at the Back to Earth. How that took 10 years to come out, and there's also the Series 10. Even after that was another 3 years. So it's been over 2 years now since the last series. I mean, we've gone 10 years before without actually having any Red Dwarf, anything new. So don't be surprised if it takes a long time. Good news is that something like this, They can do this at any stage. I mean, this isn't like a series where fundamentally at its kind of at its heart it has to stick to its premise. They have to stay young characters. They can keep doing this when they're old. They'll still be funny. There's no reason why they would be past it in any way. It's not like, say, something like maybe, I don't know, Sex and the City, which I don't watch, but I understand. I know people that do. And they've basically said like the way that it's gone. I'll say In-Betweeners as well. It's another one. We'll see In-Betweeners and also Sex and the City. These characters where they're quite young or set in a certain age, they will become sort of past it after a while. So Sex and the City is no longer about these trendy women. They're just going to be a bunch of old slags basically if you leave it a few years. The In-Betweeners as well, it kind of works if they're supposed to be. I know the actors are a lot older, but if they can't pass as sort of late teens, maybe even early 20s, they're just going to be a bunch of kind of losers in the late 20s, early 30s and onwards. You don't really want to see that as such. I mean, I don't know, it could work, but whereas with Red Dwarf, you can have like them going into the 60s and still be like just slobbing around in space and doing their thing. So that's my interpretation of it. You can make a case against that, but you know, that's just the way I see it anyway. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do this. And you also mentioned possibly having a Red Dwarf film as well. I don't see that happening. Problem is with films, you have to deal with studios and you have to deliver because the studios have to make an investment in your film. And a lot of the time, if they do make a film, they can end up messing it up because of studio interference. I do know a long time ago, over a decade ago, and this has been said by the people that do the show, that there was a big studio. I imagine it would be something like 20th Century Fox, but it could be anything. It could have been like Universal, could have been whatever. They were pitching the idea for the Red Dwarf series to this American studio because they would be the ones that would kind of back it financially and distribution. And the studio basically saying, well, we want to kind of have control of this, and we don't want to make this film with a British cast. We just don't like the idea of it. We want an all-American cast. We'll do Red Dwarf, but we want you to recast it with new actors. We want an all-American cast as well because we want to sell this abroad. They might have just figured, a lot of Americans wouldn't want to see a TV show about like this with a lot of British actors in it. So the writers basically, the Red Dwarf guys basically said, well, no, we can't do that. We have to have the cast. This is our series. We want to do a film of the series, not a spin-off that's based on that. So those negotiations went backwards and forwards, and then I think the studio came back and said, well, okay, we'll compromise. It doesn't have to be an all-American cast. We want you to recast. We don't want the original cast members. We'll have a British cast. But we want bankable actors' names. So how about Hugh Grant for Lister? Hugh Grant for Lister? Seriously? Have you even watched the show, guys? That is mental. And that is hilarious, it really is. And that's a very well-known story, is that. So problems like that. I know that was a long time ago. It was well over a decade ago that those talks were going on. But I doubt much has changed since then. So I don't see them doing a film as such that would be released in cinemas. Christmas special movie, maybe. I mean, they do it with Doctor Who all the time. Maybe that could actually be shown in cinemas as well, kind of limited release. I don't know. But I would look forward to that if they did. I would have more hope in it being good if they did it as just like a Christmas special. So we'll see anyway. We'll see how that works. Now, in terms of bringing the series back, as I say, I'm pretty sure that they will for reasons that I've kind of covered. So I think that should answer your question anyway. Not really much else to say. I've kind of shown you what was on the DVDs and stuff like that. I'm sure you've already probably been aware of what the show's about, and you've probably seen it as well. So I'm not going to get too much into in such and such an episode he does this. I'm sure you're aware of that. Collectible stuff. You didn't really ask about that, but I'll just kind of mention memorabilia and that. There's a lot of stuff out there you can get. I mean, just from the basics, t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. But there are books, there are audio books. The books that they did back in the 90s, I mean, you can get things like the scripts and like making of books, but you could also get like novelizations and stuff as well. I haven't read any of them, but I believe that they are very good and they kind of expand on original episodes. What else? There's those corgi models, as I say, that I've shown you. Paul, the guy that submitted the question for this, I'm sure you'll be watching this, believe has a model of Starbug, like a pretty decent sized one, which I've never seen that, but apparently I know you have this because Lucy, your girlfriend, your fiance, told me about this. So I'll have to check that out sometime because I like collectible stuff like that. Anyway, other than that, I think I'll pretty much leave it there because I've rambled on quite a bit. But if there's anything else you want to know, just look it up. I mean, that's just, you asked like what the series is about and what I think of the future of it. I guess I've kind of mentioned that in amongst my ramblings here. So, well, hey, finally, I've done a Red Dwarf video. I've been planning to do it for a while, but just like I say, I haven't had cause to do it. So I'll leave there in here. So if you want to submit any more questions, if you want to hear me ramble on for about 20 minutes for something that should really only take 2, submit a question to brandxreviews.com. You can do it on the website. You can do it on the YouTube channel page, or you can do it on the Facebook page, or links. If you go to brandxreviews.com, that's pretty much the hub where you can find the links to their social media pages and stuff like that. So yeah, feel free to post something anywhere, however you see fit, and I will do my best to get around to talking about it. There are a few other ones now that I've got to kind of get around to doing, but for now I will leave it there, and I guess I'll see you next time. So thank you very much, Smegheads.